So you got yourself a brand new LR6X radio, or you factory reset your radio and you realize that might have been a mistake. Well, I'm here to help you out. We're going to go over the basic things you need to know to get the radio set up and how to get everything back up and running for your particular model. Keep in mind the factory reset on the radio returns the radio to the radio factory settings, not the factory settings of your particular vehicle. Each different model has its own settings, and even from one particular car to the next, endpoint settings aren't necessarily the same due to variances in how each individual servo gets set up. But never fear, we're going to get you back on track. I'll show you how to do this safely so you don't damage anything on your car.
So to start, we're going to go ahead and turn on the radio using the power switch, and then we're going to hold down the menu/enter button to enter the menu and get into setup. Next, hit the down arrow to get over to the functions side and hit the enter button to access the function settings. From the functions menu, hit the down arrow once to get to endpoints and hit the enter button again to view and edit them. Once at the endpoint screen, we'll use the menu enter button to scroll through the channels like this, and then the up and down arrows are used for raising or lowering the value of the endpoints. The endpoint that's being modified is selected by physically moving the stick for the channel in question to adjust the side you want. So for channel 1, steering, you see I move the stick and it changes the side of the radio or the side of the endpoint that's being adjusted. So starting with channel 1 for steering, endpoints should be both at 50%. So you scroll it down with the arrow, get to 50, slide to the other side, do the same thing. Channel 2, for most of our lowrider models, the endpoint should be at 75% and 35%. Channel 2 controls your throttle, so this is how we set the maximum speed for the model. Forward should be 35% and reverse 75%. For channels 3 through 6, we're going to go ahead and set the endpoints to 50% on both sides before binding the car to the remote so that we avoid any possible issues when first connecting to the car. These endpoints will be fine-tuned at a later time as every car requires its own endpoint settings. Now once you have all your endpoints set, you hold down the cancel and save button until it makes a happy little beep to return to the function menu screen, and that signifies that the endpoints have been saved successfully. Remember, if you just tap it, it cancels what you did and you have to go back through and do it all. Make sure you hold the button until it beeps. Next, while still in the functions menu, we're going to go down to mixes at the bottom and go ahead and hit enter to access the mixes menu. These are fairly advanced topic where you can have an input on one channel affect the output on another. Getting into how to do custom mixes is kind of beyond the scope of this video, but there's one mix in particular that's important for our lowriders. On this menu, you're going to hit the up arrow 3 times when mix is selected to get to mix number 4. This controls how the raise front switch on the left corner of the radio works. It's not a traditional mix, but it rather acts like a signal to the firmware of the radio to tie both channels 3 and 4 to the raise front switch. If this mix is turned off, channel 4 does not respond when you use that raise front switch. By default, this should be turned on. Turning it off is potentially useful if you are using a LRH285 chassis like a 64 or a 59, as in that case, channel 4 is usually not connected to a servo, so you might want to use it for something other than the front suspension. So once you're in mix 4, we're going to go ahead and make sure that all the settings are as follows. Mix is set to on. Master and slave are both set to channel 3. The positive mix should be set to 50%, negative mix should be set to 50%, and offset should be set to 0%. Once everything is showing as described, go ahead and hold the cancel save button until it beeps again and get back to the functions menu. We can now turn off the radio and get ready to rebind the vehicle. So you want to start by going ahead and having a battery plugged into your vehicle, and then find the B VCC slot on your receiver, and you're going to want to insert a bind plug that came with your radio in there. Some of these vehicles it could be a little tight, but we'll just go ahead and get it in there. Alright, so your bind plug is in. Now turn the car on and look for a fast blinking light on the receiver, like this. Once that fast blinking light kicks on, the car is in bind mode. Make sure all the channel switches, channels 3 through 6, are all the way down on the remote, then hold the bind button on the radio and turn it on. Once the fast blinking light kicks on, we're going to set the channel 3 through 6 switches all the way down on the remote, hold the bind button on the radio, and turn it on. After a couple seconds, the radio finds the vehicles and connects, at which point you let go of the bind button. The fast blinking light's gone away. Clearly the vehicle did some stuff, so it's connected and it's getting a signal from the receiver. You can see everything's kind of out of whack, and this is where we have to start fine-tuning things. But now we're going to go ahead and turn off both the vehicle and the radio, vehicle first, and then you can remove the bind plug from the vehicle. So once the bind plug is out, go ahead and turn the radio on, followed by the vehicle. You'll probably notice that some controls are backwards initially, and that's going to be the first thing that we fix. So first, let's go back into the functions menu and go to reverse. It's the first one on the list. Hit enter. Now this is how you reverse the operation of each channel based on what's coming out of the radio. So you can find, as you go through and test each of these channels, the ones that are backwards. So let's start with channel 1. Oh, look at that, our steering's backwards. So you use the arrow keys on the left to change it, and now it's correct. You hit enter, select the next channel. We don't really want to check the throttle here because it might run off the table, but we're going to go to channel 3. Channel 3 is good. Channel 4 needs to be reversed. So do that, and you can see it immediately changes on the car. Channel 5 is good. Channel 6 is backwards. So we'll reverse channel 6. Now remember, hold cancel save to save all these settings, and it puts you back in this menu. Now we can go back to the endpoint screen, and you can start going through each individual channel to make the motion that you see with the car what you want it to be. You can start adjusting inputs for your particular model, and just like before, you hit the enter button to select the channel you want to adjust and use the arrow keys to change the value, and then make sure when you're done adjusting it, you hold the cancel save button. In general, you want to watch for things getting bound up on the car or servo horns or bell cranks that are touching other parts of the car.
And that's it. That should be all the basics you need to know in order to get your vehicle up and operating again. We'll go over the nuances of setting up individual models and other videos to make sure that you get the best performance that you can out of the model that you have. There are a lot more advanced things also you can do with the radio that are all covered in the manual. If there's any of those topics you'd like us to cover in a future video, please let us know. We'll see you in the next one.